The State Board of Education meeting to order. I want to remind members of the board and those that are out there virtually also that when you speak clearly in the microphones because we all have masks on, and that's better for the transcription of our proceedings. Our first item is the Pledge of Allegiance, and I think Dr. Woodall is with us virtually, but I will be happy to lead us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the next item is the approval of the State Board of Education minutes for September 8th. If there are no objection, those minutes will be approved by unanimous consent. Is there any objection? Hearing none, those are approved by unanimous consent. Next is the approval of the State Board of Education agenda for October 13th. Is there any objection to approving the agenda as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. This is where we typically would recognize any visitors, including news media. I do believe, Ms. Hicks, you're with us today, so glad you're with us, and we'll be with you shortly. With that, the State Board Chair has no report, so I'm going to ask our superintendent if she has a report.
Okay. Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, and public folks who are out watching this meeting. A couple things that I would like to share with you. First of all, this is a happy month because October is typically our recognition of principals, National School Principals Month. And one of the cliches that I say often is you cannot have a great school without a great principal. But it is not a cliche, it is the truth. And leadership does matter, whether it's at the state board level, whether it is at the superintendent level, school principal level, and the leadership certainly in the classroom that the teacher gives. All of that makes all the difference in the world. I had the privilege today of spending some time with our state principals of the year. They are selected through the South Carolina Association of School Administrators, and I'm sorry that they are not present with us in this room, but I know that you'll be happy to join me in congratulating the 2020 South Carolina Elementary Principal of the Year, Jessica Patterson from Chastain Road Elementary School in Pickens. We just had a great conversation with her telling me that they all talked about how it's going in their schools with the good things and the things that we need to work on. 2020 South Carolina Middle Level Principal of the Year is Dr. Robin Coltrane of W.A. Perry Middle School right here in Richland School District 1. Our Secondary Principal of the Year is Sonia Bryant from Batesburg-Leesville High School over in Lexington School District 3. The three assistant principals of the year are Dr. Twanisha Garner, Langford Elementary School in Richland District 2. The middle level assistant principal is Leah Sarantopoulos of Carolina Springs Middle School in Lexington 1. And the assistant principal of the year for secondary is Julie Painter from White Knoll High School in Lexington School District 1. And Julie has moved up, is now a principal at Pleasant Hill Middle School. And Dr. Garner also is now principal of her school as well. So congratulations to them. It was a great conversation, so great that we're planning a follow-up because we didn't finish, and we're going to have a
Good.
Zoom meeting and talk some more because they were giving me some really good information. One that I'll share with you all. You all have helped us approve a streamlined teacher evaluation program. You know, last March, we waived the teacher evaluation for the end of the year, but we said this year we're going to go forward, but we streamlined it, and they say it is so much better. So that may be something we need to keep forever. And they also were very complimentary about streamlining and prioritizing our standards. We've heard for a long time from teachers that we were requiring so many standards, they just couldn't get to them all. So the pandemic caused us over the summer to do that, and they are thrilled. So another thing that we have learned, taking some of the things off the platters of our teachers that are just dripping full with all that they have to do. So I was really pleased to hear about that, and I want to get some more good suggestions from them. To let you know where we are across the state, Dr. Mathis and I have been meeting. He has held, wonderfully, he has held most of the meetings with those districts who are not yet back fully face-to-face. We are making great progress in the state working with each school district. Currently, we have 5 districts, really 4. Orangeburg has some of their students back face-to-face, so 4 districts that are only offering virtual instruction. 59 that are in some type of hybrid situation, and we have 17 districts that are fully 5 days a week, all students back. Now, they also offer a virtual as well, and we will continue to do that probably forever. That virtual option will be there for our students. I just did an announcement out this morning, and we'll be in Spartanburg tomorrow. The governor has been extremely supportive and encouraged me and the legislature as well we have to buy whatever these districts need so that they can get back face-to-face safely. So we have just placed an order. We did one a few months ago for $10 million purchasing PPE, but we have another order now that's going in for $33 million worth of masks, some 60,000 gallons of hand sanitizer. The biggest portion of this purchase, though, is plexiglass. And as we have observed and learned through the pandemic, the use of plexiglass in the correct dimensions can allow us to bring more students back into the classroom safely. And working with DHEC, we have been following the 6 feet social distancing to the extent possible. And we know now that with the plexiglass and wearing the mask, it doesn't allow you to take your mask off, but with the mask and plexiglass, we can safely bring students in 3 feet apart. And that is what many schools are having to do as more and more families want to get back face-to-face. So we are working to supply school districts with that equipment, and I believe that my message to parents and the community is school is probably one of the safest places you can be right now because students are complying. They are wearing their masks. They are washing their hands. They are maintaining social distancing. The adults are cleaning the buildings, and we are doing contact tracing. And those are the 5 mitigation factors that the CDC says if you implement those well, you can have a pretty safe, controlled environment, and that's what's happening in schools. We are having a few cases. That's to be expected. I think most of those are not contracted at school. They're elsewhere, but there are certainly there are times when we have had to quarantine classes, and that's been expected, but people are following the protocols. They're moving their students when that happens to virtual and doing exactly what they're supposed to do. So I'm very, very pleased with how it's going, and we're looking forward that we can have every district in the state offering at least 2 options, a face-to-face options if families choose that, and the virtual option working well. So that's generally what I needed to tell you. I appreciate your support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Questions for our superintendent?
I have one. John Booton.
Mr.
Yes, sir.
Booton.
I watch every week for the numbers to come out of DHEC of the school-related cases, the increase. And I've noted that over the last month, there's been a fairly steady rise. Have we identified a point where when it gets to level X, we got to rethink what we're doing?
Thank you, Mr. Bootzon. That's a great question, and I have asked that of our health experts early on. The answer is there is no exact number, but it should be handled in a school setting just like we would handle any other infectious disease. And typically, with the flu, for instance, or any other infectious disease, somewhere around 20 to 30%, if you get to that level of absenteeism, and then that decision is made at the local level between the local school officials and their DHEC experts. So there's not a set percentage that we have said statewide, but we're following the usual protocols that DHEC that the health community uses.
So these numbers would have to get up between, say, 150,000 and 200,000 real numbers. Is my math right on that?
I don't think it would be at an individual school basis.
Right.
Or an individual school district if the spread were to get so high that an entire school or a district. Let's pray that we don't have that happen statewide. Certainly we would, if it comes to that, we would do what we need to do, but I don't anticipate that happening. But it would be handled at a local level. And right now, we do have a few cases of a classroom. The teacher tested positive, and the entire classroom then, because of her interaction with the students, the entire classroom would be sent home for 14 days of quarantine. And we do have some incidents of that happening now, but it's being handled on a case-by-case basis, and it's looked at as to how much contact has that person had with the other. So one child being infected in a classroom would not necessarily mean that the entire classroom would be isolated. It depends on how much interaction they've had. So it's looked at very carefully on a case-by-case basis.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Madam Superintendent, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for what you're doing. Any comments from the parliamentarian?
Just be aware that there is the possibility, and I hate to be so vague, but a possibility of a special called meeting on Thursday, Friday, at the latest on Monday. And I was thinking, because we have so many educators, that we might want to do it late in the day, because it will be virtual, it will be a telephone special called meeting. And I will query you on Wednesday morning. I want to plant the seed now, because I will query you tomorrow morning on what date works best for you. I have to give 24 hours notice, obviously under FOIA. So it will be, if it's Thursday morning, if we do it Thursday afternoon, I need to post 24 hours in advance. So be aware of that, but I will be look for my email tomorrow morning about this matter. Okay, thanks.
Okay. Thank you. We'll be in suspense until tomorrow morning.
Edge your seat stuff.
Okay, it's now time for public comment, and we do have one individual signed up for public comment. That would be Jacqueline Hicks. And Ms. Hicks wants you to know that you are allotted 5 minutes for your comments. Since we're hearing your comments for the first time, it's our policy to accept your comments as information. If we have questions or need additional information, we will contact you at a later date, and thank you for understanding our procedures. Ms. Hicks. Good afternoon.
Good evening. Can you hear me? You're right? Okay. We are mentors, coaches, confident,
Get a little
closer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening. We are mentors, coaches, confidants, friends, and yes, sometimes we are babysitters. 8,300 strong, we are bus drivers. Since COVID-19 has impacted the world like a level 10 earthquake, reminding us how precious life is, we had to rethink, redefine, and reinvent our lives and our finances to the safety of ourselves and fellow man. Every year before school begins, we as bus drivers have an in-service meeting to get us equipped and prepared for driving the school buses. We asked questions, and most of them has been answered, but one stood out and left us unsure about tomorrow. Since driving buses is a sole income for some of our bus drivers, becoming ill due to the virus, is there something in place? Response was no. So as I stand before you, I'm inquiring about hazard pay to be implemented for bus drivers and drivers that fell victim to the virus and bus drivers that died from COVID-19, eliminating the income from the household. Because truth be told, when and if or after the pandemic subsides, there may be more of a lack of bus drivers. Having to hire and train prospective bus drivers is going to cost, not to mention the time in the preparation. Hazard pay would let the drivers know that South Carolina State Board cares and remind them that we are all in this together. Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Hicks. Okay, this now brings us to the State Board items, and the first one is public hearing, but we have nobody signed up for public hearing, so there will be no comments in that regard. So I think the next items are for approval, 01 and 02. And Ms. Beaver?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can now, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you, Chairman and Superintendent Spearman and board members. This is Sherry Beaver. I'm presenting to you today a proposed change to Regulation 43-273, Section 2C. And I think I do have some slides that go with my presentation, so I think they can pull those up at this time if they're available.
Don't appear to be.
Okay. All right. Well, this is a second reading of Regulation 43-273, Section 2C, referring to transfers and withdrawals. And this is going to just basically cause us to look at two major issues. One is clarity and alignment. In alignment with the South Carolina Uniform Grading Policy changes that were made in May of 2019. So the first major changes are corrections of terminology, syntax, just internally inside the paragraph 2C. And those changes are really minor changes, actually, to add the word credit, so that we are analyzing credits when students transfer from homeschool and also from private schools and out-of-state non-public schools. And also we are clarifying that the evaluated evidence that they present when credits are being evaluated, that there are options for students to provide evidence of work, and then also the districts, and then also if there's insufficient evidence provided, that districts can then follow their district policy that complies with options listed in the South Carolina Uniform Grading Policy. And those changes again were made in May of 2019 in the UGP. We also are addressing the fact that districts must use the South Carolina Honors Framework in order to evaluate honors weighting for any of those transfer courses and credits. And then we had some syntax corrections, grammatical corrections, but that's basically the two major points of the change. Are there any questions?
Let me weigh in on this for a moment, Sherry. So annually, we will have a situation where a homeschool student is going to return to the public school, or you have a transfer of a private school student coming in, and their transcript, if you will, says they've done X, Y, and Z, and they get to the school district, and the school district says, no, you haven't. We're not going to give you credit, or we want you to take Algebra 1 again. We don't believe the math that you took was Algebra 1. Or the course was an honors course in their homeschool situation or their private school, and the district refuses to give honor weight to that. And you know, when you're in high school, honor weight is an important weight for your GPA. So we have the setup, as Sherry just said, about the honors rubric. Does it meet the requirements of our honors rubric? And if it does, then you need to provide that weight in the transcript. There's a means to review, a meaningful review of a homeschool student's transcript or a private school student's transcript to get to an acceptable answer for South Carolina courses. But it's an annual issue that will, filters down to our office every year. And I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, you've heard the presentation from Ms. Beaver and from Ms. Hazelwood. Is there a motion to approve the proposed amendment for second reading?
I make a motion that we approve the proposed amendment to the State Board of Education Regulation 2, South Carolina Code, 42-273.
Thank you, Ms. Howard. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. I will now open the floor for any discussion. Mr. Gabrowski.
Can I ask a direct question?
Use your mic.
I'd like to direct a question. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Go ahead.
Thank you for your explanation. How does this change that rubric?
It does not change the rubric.
Okay.
The rubric has been created in the 2019 regulation to provide a service or an aid to districts when they have those students transferring in.
Am I reading it right? This is something that the homeschooler associations have requested and want.
Yes, they do.
Thank you.
They absolutely do, more so than the private schools. But private schools are issues as well. But yes, sir, it's been driven by the homeschool
All right.
associations.
Thank you very much.
Did you have a question, Dr. Green?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get some clarification on the motion and what we're actually voting on. Are we voting?
Oh, you-
What are we voting on?
This is second reading of
This
so
is-
we had first reading 3 months ago, or at least 2 months ago. And in the interim, y'all approved it 2 months ago. In the interim, Dr. Beaver has gone out to the field to ask for public comment. There's no one here today, and I'm sure people weighed in, but they didn't weigh in such that it would change the regulation at all. So now you will either vote it up or down. You might want to change it, I don't know. But when you complete this vote, then it goes to the State House. It's headed to the State House if it is passed out of the State Board today on second reading.
Green, this is Sherry. You were on the uniform grading policy change.
Whoop. Went mute.
2019. So there's really no change in terms of what the policy says. We're changing the regulation language basically to align.
Okay. So how does that address the issue that Ms. Hazelwood identified earlier, which is that there are times when, for example, a homeschool parent suggests that a course should get an honors weight, and the district determines that it didn't meet the qualifications for an honors weight. So how is that resolved in those kinds of situations?
And I'll answer that. My concern was districts were not using the honors rubric. They were simply saying, you take honors courses with us, we don't look at your transcript and say, you've said it's an honors course. They were not using the rubric. If the district uses the rubric and determines that it does not meet the honors requirement under the rubric, then in this situation, the district is correct to say, you don't get honors weight for this. But you have to show your due diligence that you've used the rubric.
All right, thank you.
Dr. Green? Dr. Green?
Yes.
I just want to congratulate you in front of the board that the University of South Carolina Alumni Association just recognized you as the Black Alumnus of the Year. So congratulations.
Thank you, Chairman. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other questions, comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Item 02, Dr. Moore.
Good morning, and I hope that you can all hear me.
Barely.
You said barely. Is this better?
It's better.
Okay, thank you. I'll use my inside voice, I guess. Today, we're coming for you for approval for proposed changes to Regulation 43-279, the minimum standards of student conduct and disciplinary enforcement procedures to be implemented by local school districts. The purpose of the proposed changes is to identify sexting as a Level 2 disciplinary infraction and distinguish it from the illegal use of technology that is currently addressed in the regulation. So again, in a nutshell, the proposed change is designed to identify sexting as a Level 2 disciplinary infraction. More specifically, Section B of Section 4 will delete the notion that other acts as determined and communicated by local school authorities, that will be deleted in order to be more specific in the definition of sexting. Sexting then is defined as creating, possessing, or sharing nude, partially nude, or other sexually explicit or suggestive images, videos, or visual representations using non-digital means, for example, printed materials or electronic communication, including but not limited to texting, emailing, or posting on social media platforms. These acts are prohibited whether or not the subjects of the images, videos, or visual representations consent to their being created, possessed, or shared. That is the definition that we're proposing for sexting. moving further down, because we said that Part 2 of Section B will be added so that there would not be a duplication. And then in Section 3, so Section 2 are non-criminal offenses, Section 3 are criminal offenses, and so the proposal is to separate the following statement from the previous statement as it was in the original. So in the proposed changes, we will add the phrase that maliciously transmitting sexual images of minors other than self-images of the student or images transmitted with the uncoerced consent of the individuals in the images. That is being proposed as a level 3 offense, which would be a criminal offense. And so it is important to note that we had feedback from districts, the solicitor's office, and others in creating this definition and then separating the maliciously transmitting of such images into separating that into a level 3 offense. That is in essence the substance of the proposed changes that are presented to you for approval. Are there any questions?
Any questions for Dr. Moore? Okay, hearing none, the chair would entertain a motion. Item 02.
I make a motion that we accept the change.
Make a motion to approve.
I don't think they can hear you.
Okay, I have two. I have dual motions here. Who is virtually? Who was?
Tracy West.
Dr. West? Okay. Dr. West will be the first,
Now second.
second. Okay, we do have a first and a second. Now I will open it up for discussion.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Walters.
I've worked with the task force that developed this regulation, and just to elaborate very briefly on it, essentially what the issue was is that with sexting, it was level 3 recommendation for expulsion, criminal charges, and there really wasn't a lesser included offense. So what do you do with those cases where it doesn't rise to that level, but it definitely needs some disciplinary action? And so this just kind of cleans that up and gives administrators an option for those less serious offenses.
Thank you, Mr. Walters. Other discussion? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second to approval, a second reading. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Thank you very much, Ms. Beaver and Dr. Moore.
Thank you.
Next item is committee reports. The Policy and Legislative Committee did not meet this morning. I will now recognize Ms. Pearson to present the Educator Professions Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Education Professional Committee has one action item, EPO 1, request for out-of-state student teaching placement for Winthrop University, and Dr. Ritter, if he's with us, will present at this time. Dr. Ritter?
Dr. Ritter?
Dr. Ritter, this is Mary Hubb. I don't believe Dr. Ritter is on the meeting, but I'll be glad to answer any questions regarding EPO 1.
Okay, I know there Winthrop was requesting out-of-state teaching placement for several students.
Yes, Winthrop University has requested 4 out-of-state student teaching placements for the spring 2021 semester for 2 candidates in the area of theater and 2 in the area of music. Winthrop does not have sufficient in-state placements for these candidates. Dean Jenny Rakestraw is also available to answer questions on the meeting. Winthrop has seen an increase this semester or spring semester in the number of candidates in their theater and music programs. So they have worked out placements within 20 miles of Winthrop for these particular candidates. So Dean Rakestraw would like to add any comments to the university's request. I'll turn that over to her.
Thank you, Mary. This is Jenny. We have had an increase in the number of music majors who are going into education, which is a good thing, but it has stretched the placements that we have available through our partnership network, which includes several school districts in this part of South Carolina, and we have a good number. Out of the 190 or so placements that we have, we don't have a bit of trouble with getting the placements. But in the visual and performing arts, because they have to have different levels of placements, elementary and high school, it stretches us a little bit. And not all of our available, all trained selected mentors are available every semester. This year we have 21 music ed candidates going into our student teaching, our internship too. Usually we have 10 or 15. In theater, we have about 10 candidates in theater education, and usually we only have 2 or 4. So this is a good problem. Regretfully, I think that with the numbers that are coming up the line next year, we probably will not be coming back to you with this next year. And we are still trying to get more and more teachers in these fields in our partner districts to be qualified. We're actually waiting on our graduates who have been hired in the region to have the 3 years teaching experience so that they can become mentors for our teacher people.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you very much. Okay, and we have one.
Ms. Pearson, was that approved by the committee?
Yes, it
and
was.
placed on the consent agenda?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
thank you.
Okay.
And you have an information
And
item.
I have an information item. That is the ADEPT results for 2019-20 and the presentation of district ADEPT plans. Ms. Manzinger made that presentation, and I thought it was information that the board might might be interested in. Ms. Manzinger?
Yes, thank you very much. On the next slide, you will see the overall results for teacher evaluations for 2019-20. Even with school closures in March, due to the pandemic, the actual numbers and percentages are very similar to results from 18-19. The changes we noted were that the number of teachers not met were down by 288, and the number of teachers deemed incomplete were up by 257. This is likely because districts took the flexibility we offered to give an incomplete in instances where they could not observe teachers. On the next slide, you will see that the overall ratings for teacher evaluations are very similar to the overall ratings in 18-19. However, we did see a change in student learning objectives, where the number of unknown or uncompleted student learning objectives went up to 49%. That is because many of our teachers couldn't give their planned assessments last spring, and that led to the simplified student learning objective that Superintendent Spearman mentioned at the beginning of the call. Finally, we wanted to share the teachers' top strengths on the South Carolina teaching standards this year were content knowledge, respectful culture, and environment. Their top areas of growth, according to the rubric, were questioning, assessment, and thinking. Our office will continue to use this data to support districts and teachers in growing their effectiveness. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We have one action item, EPO 1, but consent agenda, and the other was just information.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Pearson. Now I'd like to call on Ms. Howard for the SLA committee report.
We had one item up for approval, and that was the Instructional Materials Advisory Committee recommendations to fill vacancies. And that was presented by Ms. Chris Stewart. And the committee voted to accept those people to fill the vacancies. And
Okay.
it was voted on to add to the consent agenda.
Okay. You do not have a presentation by Ms.
I don't know if Ms. Stewart, are you here?
Okay. Very good. That was added to the consent agenda. At the full board licensure committee, we approved the committee report and Mrs. Chapman presented that report to us. Again, the full board did approve that. The full board cases, there was one case which resulted in a suspension, and then we had an unusual item where we approved a motion to reopen a case, and the justification is that we needed to make sure that we were honoring a constitutional due process in this case, so it will go back to the SDE, the department, for mitigation thereafter. The next item is the consent agenda. You have that consent agenda in front of you. It has the two items, the one from Educator Professions Committee and one from the Standards Learning and Accountability Committee. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. The consent agenda is approved. Okay, I think we're at information items. We are. Dr. Mathis.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I hope you can hear me.
We can. Thank you.
As a brief literacy update, as outlined in last month's update, Dr. Quincy Moore, Director of the Office of Early Learning and Literacy, worked with stakeholders from education, medical, and research communities to develop the state's Dyslexia Handbook to serve as a resource for school communities. The handbook serves and supports a multi-tiered system of support for literacy instruction for all students and interventions for those who may demonstrate reading difficulties, including dyslexia. With my notes, you will be sent a link to the handbook that I hope you will take the time to review. It's a resource for teachers, administrators, and parents. The handbook has been distributed to all school districts with guidance on best ways to use the handbook and incorporate it in school-based professional learning. The department is also providing training this fall and spring in virtual sessions in hopes of reaching as many educators as possible. In the introduction of the Dyslexia Handbook, our state superintendent, Molly Spearman, states, "The South Carolina Dyslexia Handbook is a key next step in our state's commitment to literacy. This handbook addresses how to systematically improve reading instruction, how to screen for reading difficulties, progress monitor, and how educators can best support students with dyslexia." The handbook begins with a definition and characteristics of dyslexia, It also provides information on the key components of effective, high-quality reading instruction delivered in both systematic and explicit delivery methods. Guidance is also provided on the effective practice at each tier of instruction, emphasizing the importance of high-quality instruction for all students in Tier 1 and strategic interventions at Tier 2 and 3. A critical section of the handbook describes in detail the proper use and examples of assessments for gathering data on students learning through the use of universal screeners, monitoring progress to determine if the instruction is effective or if a different approach is needed. Diagnostic assessments are also included that identify specific strengths and weaknesses of a student, and also addresses summative assessments given once instruction has been delivered, such as our state mandated assessments. Further guidance is provided not only on high quality implementation at each step in providing tiered support, but the fidelity of the implementation at each tier. Educators will find guidance on next steps for those students who do not respond to the most intensive interventions. Another key area of the handbook is a section dedicated to creating engaging environments for parents and how to provide support for all students, but particularly for the students who struggle with learning to read. The Office of Family and Community Engagement, led by Dr. Yolanda Anderson, developed a framework for family engagement, which is also included as a resource in the handbook. The handbook concludes with professional learning resources and a glossary of the most common terms used in reading instruction. So you can see that this handbook is not only about reading difficulties, but effective instruction for all students. In closing, I paraphrase a quote from one of my favorite professional books, and that is, if we do not teach our students to read early and well, it matters little what else we teach them. That concludes my report.
Amen. Thank you, Dr. Mathis. Are there any questions for Dr. Mathis? Mr. Boots?
I have one. Boots on.
Mr. Boots on?
Yes. In the area of literacy, have you gotten enough information from the ARC? That's what we were calling it, right? The reading camp or the recovery camps. Anyway, the pre and post testing we did with them to have a sense of where we are in the climb up the hill of literacy.
The pre-assessments for both the academic recovery camp and that which was done in LEAP, or the first 10 days of school, has been reported to the department. They're taking that data now because it's 6 different assessments, I think, that districts could use. And so the answer is it's coming in now. We're disaggregating it. We're going to see how it falls out. But all our predictors are that there is a significant gap in literacy instruction, but we should be able to pinpoint specific gaps within the next couple of weeks.
By gap, do you mean we are behind where we would have been, probably?
I think we're going to get a gap in what the summer slide would have been and what the COVID slide, how the COVID slide impacted that. So hopefully we'll be able to tell a little bit of both.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, I have a question, please.
Dr. West.
And Dr. Mathis, I've looked through the handbook, and it's an amazing collection of resources. I guess I just have one thought to consider. It's not necessarily a question. In looking at all the materials that have been presented on multi-tier systems of support since 2018, when I see this document with a very prominent title of the Dyslexia Handbook, I wonder if it will not be something that teachers automatically embrace, given that we know that dyslexia is one specific type of learning or reading difficulty. So I was just curious if having a broader handbook title, given that I know the direct focus of this particular document is literacy, a lot of the assessment, your comments about fidelity, evidence-based practices, community engagement, family engagement, all of that can go across into the area of math as well as behavior, which are the other areas that we look at under an MTSS system. So I was just curious if that, I know there's been a lot of conversation at the legislative level about dyslexia, and I appreciate the focus on literacy, but I was just curious if your working group had considered a broader defining title for this very important and very informative document.
Dr. West, that's a great question, and I think our committee, Dr. Moore and those did consider that. I think a lot of what was done was in comparison to what other states were doing at the time. But I say all that to say, we've already, it's been about just a few weeks off the press, but we're already seeing some things that we may want to add as addendums or improvements to the book, so the handbook. So any of that we can take into consideration.
Other questions? Dr. Mathis, thank you. Ms. Mack,
Yes, sir.
how are you?
I'm just fine. Thank you so much.
Good.
I'm bringing today an update on Allendale, Florence 4, and Williamsburg school districts. Just some brief information about what's been going on over the last month. In Allendale County School District, Superintendent Gilmore had a face-to-face community meeting and reviewed the district's strategic plan, as well as recognized the Teacher of the Month, Support Staff of the Month, District Office Department of the Month, and new employees. Allendale continues to review DHEC data concerning COVID-19. They had 50 virtual students request to be switched from virtual learning to the hybrid learning model. On the 9th of November, the district will review the COVID-19 cases, and if the county is in the medium category, they'll move hybrid students to 4 days of face-to-face instruction. Virtual students will be eligible to switch to face-to-face instruction, and currently 74% of their students are participating virtually. Additionally, Allendale, Fairfax Middle and High Schools are becoming AVID schools, and they're helping to target students with the desire to go to college and the willingness to work hard. In Florence School District 4, Superintendent Spearman conducted town hall meetings with various stakeholder groups to discuss the possibility of district consolidation with Florence 1 schools. Next week, Johnson Middle School will extend their face-to-face instruction to 4 days a week and provide academic support for struggling students in a face-to-face setting on Fridays. Professional development regarding priority standards was held for teachers, and they worked on pacing guides and benchmarking systems to adjust to those priority standards. Timmonsville High School students continue to participate in the Continuum welding, HVAC, and IMT programs, and Honda, which is the local industry, is looking to hire 10 welders per month. So a cohort of the Timmonsville High School juniors and seniors are working on MIG welding certification at the Continuum. In Williamsburg County School District, they continue to use various forms of communication to involve parents in the community. They also were awarded $291,828.85 for a Title IV Student Support and Academic Enrichment Grant, and they're going to use that to support instruction in virtual learning. The leadership team met to discuss phasing in face-to-face instruction, and they held over 21 professional development offerings for their faculty and staff during the month of September. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Ms. Mack. Any questions for Ms. Mack?
Can we ask Dr. Spearman a question?
Yes, you may.
How did the meetings in Florence go?
Thank you. I was about to raise my hand to give you, thank you, Ms. Mack gave you a brief report. The general consensus, I think, from the meetings, I met with the teachers, staff, I've had a meeting with the students, and then the community meeting. The community meeting was very civil, a lot of questions, a lot of anxiety, not so much about consolidating the district. In fact, the general consensus from the community is, we understand, we've been expecting the consolidation of the district, that's okay, but we don't want you to close the high school. And so that is very emotional, and clearly the vocal response that I heard from those who were on the call was, please don't close our high school. So that decision has not been made, neither have been totally made, but the reality is that to consolidate Florence 4 with Florence 1, Florence 1 has 3 high schools. Wilson, which has about 1,000 students and space available. West Florence and South Florence High School both are over 1,500 students, very large high schools, larger end of the high schools. So the ability and the responsiveness of Florence 1 to say, yes, we'll agree to this consolidation, but yet we'll keep a high school with 160, 170 students running financially is going to be very difficult. I understand the emotions. I understand the concern about the high school is the center of the community there. So this is a very difficult decision, and I am continuing to have conversations with the legislative delegation, and we'll do that. I hope to make an announcement and a final decision, though, by the first of the year, and we'll move accordingly. But that's generally the response, and I think anyone who was on the call that night would confirm that that's the feeling. Any other questions?
Thank you. Good question. Ms. Williams, are you with us?
Mr. Chair, can you hear me?
I can, thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm just going to quickly provide a brief overview of the State Board's annual budget as of September 30th, 2020. As communicated in prior months, the State Board's annual budget is $58,034. At the end of the quarter ending September 30th, we were 25% through the fiscal year, and $6,850, or approximately 12% of the State Board's total budget, was expended. Specifically, $2,290 has been expended for hearing costs in the portion of the budget that's dedicated to assisting with the cost of teacher cases. As it relates to the operational component of the budget, $4,559 has been expended for per diem and travel-related expenditures for the July, August, and September State Board meetings, as well as the facility rental costs for the July board meeting. Overall, you're in good financial standing, and we will continue to monitor your spending patterns throughout the fiscal year. Mr. Chair, I'm available if there are any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Any questions for Ms. Williams? Okay, thank you, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
Ms. Hazelwood.
The State Board is also paying for the continuation of WebEx, which is the virtual model, and I'm not sure if that was in the first quarters. I know it's been in different procurement items that I've looked at. And I will say that notwithstanding how much plexiglass we have purchased for districts, we might consider it for ourselves, and perhaps bring in a couple more people. We may get to the full with plexiglass, but it's something that I'll need to speak to our procurement director about, and just see if that would work. It's still 3 feet, so, I mean, we were pretty tight when we were all here. So it's still a 3 feet division. In fact, I'm getting kind of antsy about some of y'all are a little close even right now. So just know that that could be an expense in the coming quarter.
Thank you. The chair is not aware of any other business to come before this board. Would remind you that get your travel forms into Noel before you leave. Miss Howard, enjoy the beach. Okay, I know she's off to the beach. With that, we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.